normally, I know that there are a couple of committee members that will be joining will either be absent today or joining a few minutes late. So we might start at around 7:05, if that's all right. But let's wait until your colleagues also join as well.
Not a problem. I was planning to share my screen, so maybe we can test that out as well.
Yes. There you go. Thanks, Chanel. So you should now have screen sharing privileges.
Oh, there's Linda.
No, it looks like Linda's audio is connecting. Hi, Linda. And it looks like you're now muted, I think. Hi, Daryl.
I just muted. Has the meeting begun? No.
No, not yet. We're just making sure, doing all the tech stuff, making sure Zora can share her screen and so on and so forth.
Marielle, thank you. Nice to meet you, almost in virtually at least.
Yes, exactly. I'm just trying to get myself sorted here, and then I'll turn my camera on in a moment. But thank you for joining us this evening, as I mentioned.
Hi, Chanel. Thank you again.
Hi, no problem.
Hi, everyone.
Okay. Looks like Richard is joining shortly as well. Wonderful. Hi, Richard. How are you? We can't hear you. Oh, I guess he's checking out his tech.
Can you guys confirm that you can see my PowerPoint as well as the little phone mock-up?
Yes.
The PowerPoint is it's great.
Awesome.
Yes, I can see it.
Great.
I just stepped out of CB7 steering.
Oh. Okay. So I know Etta is joining late and Michelle cannot make it this evening. So let's see if maybe Bruce can join. Let's give him a moment.
So Marielle or Marshall or someone else, did you guys
Yes.
want us to present in which order? I stopped sharing my screen, but you can let me know when is a good time to share it again.
For sure. So I'm just double checking the agenda because I know we moved something around. We normally start off with a kind of welcome and introduction. So we'll do that first. And then I think I have your presentation next on the agenda. Let me just double check to make sure. Yes, exactly. And just to confirm, you need about, I think, Linda, when we had discussed about, you need 10 minutes maybe for the presentation and then maybe 15 for Q&A.
Yeah, is that correct? Yeah, that's what I was anticipating. What is that good for you, Zora?
Yeah, I think that works for us.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Just wanted to double check that. Great. So I'll say let's start at 7:05. We're waiting for another committee member to join. We're quite a small committee, so just be patient with us, please. But we look forward to your presentation for sure.
Hey, Serena. You're muted.
Hello there.
Hello there. Hi, Adam.
Hey, how are you, everyone? Good evening. Hey, Linda.
Hi.
Happy Thursday, everyone.
Oh, yeah. Mayon, do you get a lot of community members on your committee meetings?
Unfortunately, no. It's something that we're working on. But I did share the picture that you shared with me, the asset,
Yeah,
the comms, yeah. And so that was, I did share that, albeit a little later than I wanted to, but I did share it, and hopefully, we do have two attendees currently, and sometimes we also have colleagues and kind of, neighbors watching from our YouTube as well. So I'm not sure. Yeah. Mhm.
It's up on the CB7 website too now, so we're getting there little by little.
Wonderful. Good to hear.
Yeah, it's critically important, especially with what's happening with the skyrocketing costs.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, so I'm just double checking. I know our committee membership slightly changed. Just making sure that we have quorum. Let's see, Richard, Daryl. We're missing Michelle. Well, Michelle's excused. Aisha, I don't know if she's joining. Bruce isn't here. Ed is joining late. Okay, Marshall's here. Okay, we can go ahead and get started. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on my, oh, there's Bruce. He must have been reading my mind. I'll wait until Bruce is connected. Wonderful. Hi, Bruce. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry I'm late.
No, not a problem. Not a problem. Great. Well, let's call this meeting to order. This is the Community Board 12 Housing and Human Services Committee meeting. It's Thursday, April 7th. It's 7:06 p.m. Can I get a second? Thanks, Bruce. Great, wonderful. So today we're very fortunate to have some representatives from Logical Buildings and Grid Rewards, and they're going to talk about an app, a cash saving app, but also an opportunity to help save the environment, which is good, even better. So you have two bonuses there. But before we turn it over to them, we'll just kick off with our regular welcome and introductions. So if everyone can go ahead and just say a few words, and then I'll turn it over to Linda and her colleagues. I'm Marielle Ali, and I am the chair of the Housing and Human Services Committee. I've been on the community board now for 2 years, and really looking forward to this evening's meeting. Thanks.
Who else is here? Bruce Robertson, Community Board, 2.5 years on this committee and Traffic and Transportation. I live in Lower Washington Heights and look forward to hearing what you all have to say. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Daryl Cochran on the board 6 years, I think. So thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Richard, over to you. If you're
We're doing
audio
introductions.
Yes, we are.
Richard Allman. I'm a board member, something around 10 years. Member of this committee, also a member of Community Board 12's Aging Committee.
Great. Thanks so much, Richard. And Marshall?
Yes, good evening. I'm Marshall Vanderpool. I'm the first vice president of Dyckman Residents Association, duly elected representatives of the residents with New York City Housing Authority. I am a public member of the Housing and Human Services Committee. And well, greetings, and I look forward to this presentation. I'll land my plane right here.
Thanks, Marshall. And as I mentioned, we do have a couple of committee members that are unable to join us this evening, and one of our other members will be joining late. So when she joins, I'll give her an opportunity to introduce herself. So with that, I will turn it over to you, Linda, and your colleagues. However you want to kind of go ahead and introduce yourselves and then into the presentation.
I think Zora Roy over here, we've got Zora Roy, we've got Adam Blank, and we've got Serena Miller from Logical Buildings, and one of their platforms is Grid Rewards. And Grid Rewards, I could expound on this forever, but what I'm going to do, which is not very community board of me, is I'm not going to be quiet and let them tell the story, because it's really extraordinary, and it's going to be critically important for everyone in New York City, in Westchester, given what's happening with our skyrocketing energy costs. And also, I'm going to be quiet and let Zora present. So thank you very much, and thank you for having us.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Linda. And thank you to the Community Board 12 for having us here this evening. We're very excited to be here. I am joined by my colleagues, Adam and Serena, and I will share my screen. If you can just confirm that you're able to see this, along with this little phone right here, which we'll talk about.
Yes.
So again, thank you all for your time. We really appreciate it. And we're very excited to talk to you today about what Logical Buildings does and Grid Rewards. I myself am a born and raised New Yorker. I grew up in Queens and I live in Brooklyn now. And as I mentioned, I'm joined by my colleagues, Adam and Serena, who will also speak a little bit about our program today. And we're Logical Buildings, and our number one goal and mission is to help small energy users across New York, one, reduce their energy costs, two, actually earn revenue, which is a new concept and we'll talk about, and three, reduce our overall carbon emissions. And we're the first ever consumer app that we built, and it's called Grid Rewards. And it's designed for small energy users in apartments, in homes, in small businesses to download for free and connect their Con Ed account to the app. And I'll talk about some of the features in a little bit. But before we get started, I just want to talk about, so why now? And what enabled us to create this energy equity application. So it all has something to do with what Con Ed has been up to for the past few years, which is rolling out thousands and thousands of smart new meters across New York City and Westchester. So you may have seen these trucks driving around Upper Manhattan or received notices in your buildings or businesses about these new smart meters that have been going into buildings. And so what Con Edison has done is they've replaced every single building's electric meter and gas meter with more advanced metering infrastructure, which is now providing as granular level data as 15-minute usage, as well as hourly usage data that never existed before. And with our application, Grid Rewards, you'll actually get paid for using less energy at specific times while helping reduce your overall monthly electric cost through insights that are built in the application, and you'll be able to reduce your carbon footprint. And all of this is built upon the new Con Edison smart meter infrastructure. So I'll show my phone here for a moment, and you can see here Upper Manhattan. This is all of New York, but we'll zoom in right here. And each of these dots are individual users who have signed up for Grid Rewards over the past year since Grid Rewards launched last spring. And when a user signs up for Grid Rewards and connects their Con Edison account, they're immediately able to do some really neat things. like tracking their real-time energy usage. I'll show you some of the graphs in a little bit, as well as tracking real-time cost, how much you're spending in your home or apartment or business, and track your carbon footprint while getting insights on how you can be more energy efficient. And the app will actually pay people like you and me to use less energy at these peak demand times. And so there are a few days that will start happening over the summer when everybody is using a lot of electricity across New York City's grid. And there's this inevitable concept called peak demand. And so rather than turning on new dirty fossil fuel power plants, Con Ed prefers to actually pay all of us money to use less energy as opposed to turning on these power plants. And so what Grid Rewards is, and as you can see here, is an aggregation and a community of thousands of small energy users across New York City who all come together and get notifications to use less energy at the same time and create this concept of a virtual power plant. And so again, the idea is that Con Edison wants to pay all of these Grid Rewards users, all of the small energy users, money to reduce their usage at these peak demand time periods. And this is all brand new and unlocked by the new smart meters that Con Edison has rolled out. So prior to this, Con Edison actually had to send out individual people to every single building and read the meters and then accurately send back a bill that reflected the usage. And so now all of this insights can be available to every New Yorker on their fingertips. And we no longer have to know, when are people using energy, when are they not, and how can the grid be managed on a city level. So I will just show a few insights from real New Yorkers that used Grid Rewards this past season and got paid, a month's worth of electricity, upwards of a couple $100 to, 20% of people's annual electric bill. And this is a case study of one of our users in Brooklyn. And Adam, I'll pass it over to you to, walk through this a little bit and go through some of the features here that are noted.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Zora, and thanks everyone again for having us tonight. And so, just as Zora said, what really has been unlocked with this new meter infrastructure that Con Ed has rolled out, along with the Grid Rewards platform, is the opportunity to take advantage of these peak demand days where it's really a win-win-win, where the Con Edison as the utility is winning because they no longer have to turn on these more dirty power plants run by fuel oil. The individual energy consumers can win by targeted times shifting their power to lower carbon intense times where the grid is less strained, and also earn revenue from that. So what you're looking at here is a case study of a individual energy consumer in Brooklyn in a 2-bedroom apartment named Marge. And so what you see on the left-hand side, this colorful map, this grid, is what we call a heat map. And that is actually tracking the interval energy use during what's called these peak demand events. And so Marge last summer was notified of a Grid Rewards event during the middle of the day when Con Ed was really strained. It was probably 98, 99 degrees. And she actively reduced and shifted her energy consumption. What she did here in the earlier hours, when you see the red boxes in this heat map, that actually indicates higher energy consumption. Green indicates lower energy consumption. And so you can see during this box, in this box, which is during that Grid Rewards event, Marge was notified by the Grid Rewards app saying, hey, right now is going to be a peak demand event. And if you're able to shift and help out the grid, Con Ed will pay you. And that shifting just to several hours in the summer over a couple of events, Marge earned literally over $200, again, for a 2-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn, one energy user, which is substantial money for as we all know, especially given the rise in costs. The other really fascinating thing that Grid Rewards enables energy users is, in addition to these peak events where you can earn revenue, which is again unlocked for the first time, not just for large industrial and commercial users, but for small energy consumers, day to day, is that on a 24/7 basis, for the first time ever, small energy consumers can actually have real insight of when they're using and how they're using their energy. So given even before the rise in energy costs, which is really taking its toll, not unlike most things in the market these days, but especially given the rise in energy costs, it really is even more imperative for all small energy consumers, really any energy consumer, to understand when they use and how they can actually change their behavior to be more efficient, save on their monthly electric bill, and also benefit the grid by reducing carbon. So you can see in this little graph here where Marge, not just during a targeted event where there was a revenue opportunity, but this chart on the right-hand side demonstrates how Marge actually learned the patterns of when she uses electricity on an hourly basis. Instead of just seeing a monthly bill at the end of the month and getting a total amount, she was able to actually shift some of her load and even become more energy efficient, because for the first time she had actual insight into her real-time energy consumption, and thereby was able to earn cost savings on a monthly basis. So it's really impactful, both in terms of these high revenue periods where Con Ed is really strained and incentivizes and will pay volunteers to reduce, but also on an ongoing basis to have insight into your energy consumption, to be able to change behaviors based on that information is really impactful. And there's obviously a carbon reduction component too, and that's where the win-win-win comes in, because we talked about the win of the utility not having to turn on power plants and not having to avoid blackouts or brownouts. The win, obviously, of the individual energy user, but also the environment, of course, is benefiting by shift in power when there's a more renewable or less dirty fossil fuels being used, as well as just less energy in general. And so, yeah, and we kind of touched on the why now, why is this happening now, and so we talked about number 2 here is the advanced metering infrastructure that Con Ed has rolled out, which is integral for all of this and has enabled the Grid Rewards platform to leverage that data and make it available and digestible and insightful for energy users, but also the Climate Mobilization Act as well for large buildings over 25,000 square feet for landlords and building owners alike. There's now real local law centered around energy tracking, benchmarking, and carbon emissions footprints. And the Climate Mobilization Act does not just refer to a common area space that a landlord will manage. It really refers to the entire energy footprint of a property, block, and lot. And that includes both large metering energy users, as well as every tenant in a particular building. So everybody is incentivized to work together here, both building owners, individual energy consumers, the utility. Everyone is working towards the same goal and has similar goals aligned, and it really benefits. As I said, it's a win-win-win to take advantage of these the new data and the opportunity with Grid Rewards.
Yeah, so this is just another example of how Grid Rewards is really starting to shift the power. So right now, I think Linda mentioned earlier, energy costs have never been higher. And we're hearing that from our users, as well as local blogs, local papers. Everyone is sort of talking about the high cost of energy right now. And so with Grid Rewards, you're getting paid real money for smarter energy behavior. and it's transforming the relationship that every single New Yorker has with the power company. And it's now a two-way street. And this is just an example of, some of the subway ads that are going on right now to get people involved with grid rewards, and how people now have control over their energy bill, just like Marge, taking charge of their monthly bill, not only getting paid in the summertime to reduce their energy, but also understanding how you can be more energy efficient. The app actually tells you times that are good to use energy and times that are not good. And, learning these behaviors and shifting your usage, you're able to lower your monthly bill, like Marge. And in her case, she was able to reduce her summertime bill by nearly half from the year prior. So I see a question or a hand raised here.
Can you give us an example of how Marge cuts back on her energy consumption? I'm thinking of August with AC on. Does she go sit in the bathtub with the shower on and turn off the AC units? Is that, what else can you do? Thank you.
So I can take this and then and maybe pass it on to Adam. But essentially, it's all about learning to pre-cool before the events start, and then slowly starting to adjust those set points as you come into your grid rewards period. But you're actually right. You're absolutely right. The air conditioning makes the biggest difference during these events. But that being said, there's a ton of other things that you could do. If you have appliances in your apartment, not running them during that time period and adjusting your cleaning schedules and other things like that around these grid rewards events. And also, maybe making plans outside of your apartment during that window, which you may not have previously thought of. So what I did when my window was during 4 to 7, I took all of the actions that I could, and then went out to a local restaurant in my neighborhood, and made those plans because I knew there was this peak demand. So I went somewhere where there was already going to be energy consumption. So that's just one example. And Adam, I don't know if you want to jump in here as well.
Yeah, and
A question, did you not spend the difference in savings at the brunch that you went out to have? I'm not being facetious. I'm just saying, this is.
Zora, can I interject for 1 minute so I can answer Bruce's? Because I'm a grid rewards user besides being an acolyte. I saved money. I was averaging about $60 a month for those 3 months, because we use 3 air conditioners in a fairly large apartment. And I've earned, by the way, $160, actually $162.78. But the thing is, it was as easy as turning off one air conditioner in my living room and raising the temperature in the kitchen, which is now my home office, by 3 points. So it went from 69 to 70, 72. Same thing in the bedroom. So that's how we did it. It was just not running the dishwasher, not run during the day, but running it at night. So it's not necessarily, it's not, or turning off lights. Now I know how to turn off lights. Things that it makes you more mindful, Bruce, and that's the most important thing. It makes you more mindful, and you're saving money and you're helping the environment. And the other thing, I'm going to add one more thing and then I'm going to shut up, is that there's an element of energy equity. You don't use it. You don't need a Wi-Fi here. You're using your phone. You don't need a computer. So it's accessible to people. For one of my colleagues who's at the Fredericks houses, she can use it, but sometimes she can't get on a community board meeting. So it has all of that, and it's a free app that's helping the environment. Now I'm gonna.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and you guys covered it really well. I think this is kind of a great slide to actually pause on with that comment is this slide that mentions small change adds up. So it's the same concept in the energy world here. So you're right on, Bruce, that generally speaking, the AC units are the biggest energy hogs. So with either manipulation of set points or even turning them off. Zora mentioned a great protocol, which is really, has been very successful of pre-cooling when you know in advance between 4 and 6 or 4 and 7 there's an event, you pre-cool, because again, that's that shift of the power. The hours of 4 to 7 are the critical time periods, but also really every energy measure adds up. So even shutting off something as small as lights, and shutting off your dishwasher or your laundry unit, it adds up for you individually, but it also adds up when you look at a community perspective, which is really, a foundational component of this app, is that every, kilowatt or watt adds up across a community, across a city, across a state, and it makes a really big difference. So if everyone contributes a little bit, not just within your own, the context of your own utility expense, but in the context of the environmental impact, it makes a big difference. But certainly in terms of revenue opportunity as well, adding in all of these different actions, and the application has recommendations which you can take advantage of as well.
Thanks, Adam. I said there are a couple of other hands from committee members, but I just want to check first if you're done going through the presentation, and then maybe we can shift over to questions. I thought there was something else.
Serena, if you want to maybe just jump in
Yep.
and talk about.
Yep. Serena Miller here. I lead the engagement and impact efforts over at Logical Buildings. And I guess what I'll go through really quickly is 3 simple, but 3 steps that a community board could take that would equate to a successful launch for Grid Rewards. We would attack, and I say attack because this is a campaign, and 3 steps would be digital, website. So this would be like perhaps putting Grid Rewards linked on your website, your social media. We have digital templates that we would supply you guys to put on your social media accounts, newsletters. What you're looking at here is a sample email that would go out in your newsletter, your community board newsletter, to residents in the area, educating about Grid Rewards, introducing it, letting them know, basically speaking to the initial questions that would come up if you were introducing an app like Grid Rewards. We have print, which would be perhaps like our mailers and our flyers that you'll be placing up in your community spaces, bulletin boards, and in-person tabling. This would perhaps happen at community events, festivals, such gatherings where Logical Building staff would actually be in person talking to residents, demoing the app, and answering questions about the app's functionality. Hope did I run over?
Yeah, so maybe we can just spend a few minutes to answer any remaining questions if we're not over on our time, Marielle.
No, completely okay to take a few questions. Before we turn it over to the committee members that have their hands up, I do know that we have 2 attendees. So also, if you're in the attendee list and you want to ask a question, please put in the Q&A and we'll make sure that gets answered as well. Want to make sure that you have an opportunity to share any questions you may have regarding this presentation. Great. So I think it was Richard first, and then maybe Daryl and Marshall. And if it's okay, Bruce, I'll come back to you last since you've already asked the question. Great. Thank you. So Richard, go ahead, please.
I think I'm trying to understand just the overview. I hear good things, clearly. But the overview here, trying to understand first, how would I relate to this? It's just download the app, go with it? Or is there a purchase, or what else what does the relationship look like for an individual consumer?
Yeah, that's a great question. And this is a free app that can be downloaded from the Apple Store or Google Play, or you could sign up on the website at gridrewards.com, but it's completely free. There's no cost associated with it. And the only additional step that you would take is setting it up with your Con Ed account to get all of these insights. And then we would notify you when these events occur. So then you can start to take the actions that are within the app and track how your progress is doing for those specific events to earn the demand response revenue, the grid rewards incentives we were talking about, but also start to get some insights into how you can lower your monthly bill as well.
And just, can I do a second part of the question here?
Sure.
I think the other thing I want to understand a little better is logical buildings. I mean, getting to the point where you can put a free app out there, somehow you got there. Tell us a little more about logical buildings and how you sustain this effort.
Adam, I don't know if you want to take this
sure.
one or.
Sure. Yeah. So logical buildings, as you can see, we're all about energy data. And so we actually started several years ago doing a similar effort for large energy consumers, tracking interval data, making that available to large energy consumers on a building by building level. And our real mission is to not only enable that insight and information, but make it actionable and measurable. So through programs and incentives and revenue opportunities like we're discussing through the utility, but also energy efficiency projects and sustainability initiatives. So around that data and information is really what we're about. And so, as we mentioned, with the recent AMI advanced metering infrastructure upgrades enabling this similar insight and tracking and actionable information for small energy consumers, we immediately said, let's make this available. Let's use that same tool and impact for small energy consumers that we've been doing successfully for large energy consumers, and empowering and making the same, as I said, insights and tools available. So, over the past year, we've really put a tremendous amount of effort and time and resources into building out this platform, this app, because we believe that every energy user should have equal opportunity to manage and earn energy revenue, and similarly help the environment. It shouldn't just be strictly for the larger energy consumers. So that's why we've invested in this app and this platform.
Great, thanks for your questions, Richard. Daryl.
Yeah, hi, thanks for that. I did have a few questions. And just to clarify, when you talk about shifting, it's more like usage and abstinence of use. It's not really, it's not shifting to another grid or anything.
No, correct.
Okay. Just making sure. And with the rewards, do they go directly to a person, or are they used as credit for the next Con Ed bill?
That's a great
I'll take that
question.
one. Oh.
Yeah, Serena.
So they have a choice on how they want to be paid. Select. You might be able to show. Do you still have the phone up, Dora?
Let me see.
But in case she's not able to bring up the phone for the demo account, you're able to choose whether you want to do check or PayPal. And one of the new features that we have is you can actually donate it as well. So we have a few nonprofits that you could donate your rewards to as well.
And all of those nonprofits are energy-based nonprofits.
City Harvest is one. We Act. Not all.
Well, not City Harvest, but that's still, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So not directly to Con Ed, though?
No.
Okay. Also, are you able to, like a year from now, would you be able to come back to us and say, you've had X number of customers sign up for this in our neighborhoods, and we've saved X number of kilowatts, in Washington Heights and Wood?
Adam, I don't know if you were looking to take this question or.
Go for it.
Yeah, so actually, it's a really good question because one of the next iterations of grid rewards is going to be, this hasn't been rolled out just yet, but the idea is that collectively with your neighborhood, you would be able to participate in these events at the same time because the window that Con Edison calls is based on your neighborhood. So essentially everybody in Washington Heights would have the same window where they would have to reduce their energy usage. And so the next sort of iteration of grid rewards is that you can work with your neighborhood. Everybody's shift that they do during that time period would collectively add up to further incentives that that neighborhood would receive. So in an essence, it would be like Washington Heights can come out as like the top earner and reducer in terms of kilowatt and how much they got in grid rewards incentives, as opposed to maybe a neighborhood in Queens. So there will be those sort of neighborhood level insights that are going to be part of grid rewards.
And real quick, sorry, I don't want to take up too much time, but with the events, are those all in the summer, or are there also other times of year?
Great question. Yes, they are in the summer. It could be that there's expanded programs, but down the road. But as of now, it's summer based.
Thank you.
Thanks, Daryl. Marshall, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. I guess I have sort of two questions, but I want to pivot on the idea of every energy user. That's what term Adam used, I guess, earlier. And I guess my first thought is, well, how are these reimbursement rates determined? Okay, that's the first thing, because my mind is kind of racing with this. And then on the second thoughts that's coming to me, when we talk about every energy user, I mean, most of the residents in our buildings, I mean, I'm not an electrician or whatever, but the wiring, as far as the building codes, are kind of old, for a lack of a word. I mean, you got the front end with Con Ed, and they're going to install this digital metering that's going to bring you this data and all this stuff. I mean, does it account for the problems that residents have as far as the use of electricity, and that their buildings are wired to handle the use of electricity? I mean, there have been some very bad fires because of using these heating devices. And I'll land my plane here and let you respond. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. And so when we say every energy user, this application is available to everyone in Con Ed, because Con Ed has upgraded millions of meters in the 5 boroughs. There can still be certain buildings that Con Ed has not completed yet, but Con Ed's rollout of the infrastructure is basically citywide, everywhere, in all types of buildings. So at a minimum, this platform is available for every energy user, whether they participate in these revenue opportunity events in the summer or not. It's a application where you as an energy user can have insight and monitor your actual energy use, electric use, on an hourly basis, as opposed to, again, getting a monthly bill at the end of the month from Con Ed and just seeing a total used amount and a dollar value associated with that. So you can track and or choose to take action with this application. In terms of your first question about reimbursement, the revenue that's earned in these events is through a Con Edison program. So Con Edison will pay, as I said, volunteers to reduce during these events that they call. Con Edison is the one who calls these events and says, tomorrow we are going to be really strained, and therefore we will pay volunteers to reduce electricity as opposed to trying to pump more electricity into the city. And that payment goes from Con Ed to us, to you. And that's really earned in those revenue events. The cost savings side is, again, something that's not necessarily a Venmo or a PayPal, reimbursement. It's an opportunity for you to say, hey, if I either shift my electric use to a less expensive time, which you can see in this application, right? At nighttime, it might be cheaper to use to run your laundry unit or your dishwasher, or even have a few lights on than it is in the middle of the day on a 95-degree day. By doing that, you'll be using your energy at a less expensive time, so you'll be impacting your bill. And or if you're even able to outright become more energy efficient, let's just say you wanted to put in LED light bulbs in your apartment. Okay, so you would be able to see the impact and measure that impact on your bill through this app. If you installed certain equipment, whether it's, in some buildings might have the capacity to put in smart thermostats to control your AC units wirelessly. And, there are a variety of things. If you did upgrade a building appliance, if not, there are opportunities that you can, take advantage of to try and measure, well, not to try and reduce your energy consumption and measure that. So whether you're an energy user, in a building that has, some sort of mechanical issues, or it's an older building, this application is available for you to monitor and manage and see for the first time what you're using, and it's up to you. It's totally in your hands, and potentially also participate in these events where you can get additional revenue. I hope that answered your questions.
Marshall, I'm going to say another thing. There are NYCHA buildings that are master metered. And right now, Logical Buildings is working on a program with them so that if everybody participated in those buildings, I don't know if your building is, but some of them are in the NYCHA group. They're talking about reimbursing people who are participating, the individual, the tenants. So there's a way of being able to tell which apartments are participating. But for the most part, most units, most apartments in these buildings are individually metered. And it really is about making you more aware of how you use your energy. And if you use it, the smarter you use it, the more money you save. And you get reimbursed for it. Not reimbursed, you get rewarded for it. It's not reimbursed, it's rewarded. It's based on a percentage of how much you've used.
Thank you, Linda. Marshall, can I check if you have any other questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, not a problem. I see Bruce and Richard, you both have your hands up. I'm not sure if those are old hands or new questions.
Are you done, Richard?
It's an old hand. I'd actually like to renew it, though. It'll be right at the end of the discussion over how do we bring this discussion together and think about how to act. And I've got some thoughts on that.
Great, sounds good. So maybe Bruce,
Yeah.
Carol, and then.
So do I.
Richard
This
for
is
the final.
fascinating. And in a building that has community solar program, and we put natural gas in, and Con Ed screwed us to bring the gas from the main to our building. We all have a love for Con Ed. So let me just be clear. You guys get paid by Con Ed when you refer a customer who saves Con Ed some money. Is that correct? In other words, when I use the app and I save some money from Con Ed's going to pay you, and you'll take a piece, and then I'll get the savings. So the savings is going to show up in my Con Ed bill, right? Because I'm going to use less power. And then the other thing is, Is your company New York City based, or are you spreading this out to other areas? I'm just curious in terms of you say you're a year old. I mean, you guys, this is really quite some impressive technology you've developed here.
So I can jump in here and try to answer I heard 3 questions. So the first,
Sorry.
It's okay. The first, yes, so you'll see your savings on your Con Ed bill if you're able to, reduce your energy usage, but you'll also receive a physical payment via check, or you can get it via PayPal, or as Serena mentioned earlier, you could donate those additional
Who is
earnings.
that? Who is that coming from? You or Con Ed?
That's coming from Con Ed. So we will distribute that
Thank you.
to the end user like yourself and myself. So second question, yeah, Grid Rewards has been here since spring of 2021, but as Adam touched upon earlier, Logical Buildings has been around for, I want to say 8 years now.
8 years.
And so in that time, we primarily first worked with buildings. We have a similar software that buildings can use called SmartKit AI, and Grid Rewards is an evolution of our technology to provide this access to small energy users and all of the New Yorkers that use Con Edison. And then your last question is if this is something that can be applied elsewhere. And it really comes back down to these meters. So if the utilities in other cities are putting in the investment that Con Edison put in to upgrade the smart meters, that is what allows this technology to really provide those benefits to all energy users. Without those smart meters, you don't have these insights, and you can't call on your energy users on your grid to shift their demand during that time period, at least at this very granular level.
Thank you. One more question. Who do I call to talk to about my building? I'm in a co-op with 83 residents, and this sounds very interesting because it's a very, you guys have done a brilliant job, it sounds like.
Yeah, you can certainly, we have our contact information. I will put it up on the screen again. You can email any one of us, or you can go to our website, logicalbuildings.com, if you want to talk about your building, or you can go to gridrewards.com and download the application for yourself, for your apartment or your home or your small business. So there's a few ways that you can get in touch with us.
Thank you.
Bruce, if you get a hold of Zora, and you look at her, you just email her. She can arrange for somebody to come over to your board and meet with your board and really go through everything and discuss it, because there's also the SmartKit AI program too, platform that might work for you. Your building.
I'm just asking for myself, but I know Marshall is thinking the same thing, and other buildings throughout CB12, our community board. This should be put out to them, as kind of a communal thing for buildings to get on board with this kind of thing. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Bruce. Okay, so on to Daryl.
Yeah, and I think maybe you just answered this, actually. We're obviously the housing committee, but small businesses can take advantage of this too, correct?
Yes, they can sign up with Grid Rewards as well.
Great. Maybe you should be.
Yeah, essentially anyone who pays a Con Ed bill can use Grid Rewards and get the incentives as well.
I can to follow up on Daryl's point. That was going to be one of my questions, and happy to connect you with our business and development committee. They probably would be interested in something like this, a similar presentation. Richard,
health and human, or health and environment.
Health and environment as well, exactly, for sure. Richard, over to you, and I think that will be the last hand. So last call for last hands, and if not, then we'll need to move on with the agenda. Richard, you're muted.
Thanks. I start by appreciating this. I think I'd benefit from it. You know, and I think in one way or another, the majority of us on this call are sort of average middle-class people who would benefit from this. It's a good thing. I think for the community board to get more involved in this, there needs to be a strategy on how it reaches out to lower tech people. That's seniors, it's people probably at the lower end of the income scale. It doesn't all fit into neat boxes, but there are a lot of people who aren't as obvious beneficiaries. And I think for the community board to get more involved in informational like we've been tonight, there needs to be a strategy on that. The third thing on my mind is sort of a general community board concern is, you know, it came up potentially using the website, using any other things in the community board toolkit to get information out. We don't have any precedent on the community board proactively promoting private sector companies. And that doesn't have anything to do with how good or not good the product is that's being offered. I think there's a discussion that probably needs to happen at some level above this committee over whether that's something we want to start doing, and if so, how we would set standards for what private sector products we would promote. I remain very open to that. Those concerns are on the table at this point.
Richard, may I respond? First of all, I'm as a 20-year member of Community Board 7, we have the same issues dealing with private sector, but this is really kind of a public service more than anything else. And it's unprecedented because the technology is so new and everything is changing so quickly, which is critically important to the discussion. It's about energy equity. And the fact of the matter is the way the program is designed, it was gamified so that everybody who could play Candy Crush on their phone would understand the prompts and it was deliberately done so that it, you know, people of all ages at every socioeconomic level could understand how simple it is to use. And it's already reducing the use of peaker plants as of last summer, which was remarkable. And that affects so many people and their ability to breathe. I mean, you're right, it's unprecedented. And so I think all of our community boards are grappling with this idea of promoting a private company because it is privately owned, but it is doing a public service, and it's a public service that's going to save our lives, our environment, and pay us for
I think
Coming out
also-
of those two discussions, I think where that probably points is for us to acknowledge to our executive committee that we have these concerns and encourage them to take it to the borough cabinet and to take it in a positive way, but trying to set something up that's a consistent policy there.
Yeah.
And if I could just follow up too with that, if I could
Go ahead,
ask,
Daryl.
do you have a competitor?
This is
You're
the
the-
first.
Yeah. We're the first of the kind in Con Ed territory.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is it. This is the first of its kind.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I mean, I have one final question, then we can close out. And it builds on Richard's point, just thinking about the demographics of CB12. Obviously, we have a lot of non-English speakers in our community board. I don't think you touched on, if the app is in different languages, so on and so forth. If you could talk to that, that would be helpful. Thanks.
Yeah, I can jump in here. The app is actually compatible in Spanish, Mandarin, as well as I believe Russian. And so if your phone language settings are set to those language preferences, the app will respond and be translated in those languages. And in terms of, I think, Richard, you had said about, people who may be low tech or older in demographic, for getting them signed up. Before we even came to New York City, we were working with Sustainable Westchester, and a lot of the folks there as well, didn't want to use an app or needed help getting signed up. And so we actually held office hours and did a bunch of in-person events to get people signed up with, a real person. And Serena talked about that a little bit earlier. We go to buildings that are receptive and are on site and help people get signed up, so that there aren't any sort of hurdles. And if anybody has questions, we're there to help them and guide them through the process. So, we do offer that level of personalized support, and people can call or even schedule time with us to make sure they're set up and understand exactly how to maximize all of the incentives they can get from this program.
Great, thank you so much. Can I just check that there are no other questions? I think everyone has asked the question, correct? Great. Well, again, thank you so much. And sorry, I just needed to turn my camera off for a second as I try to finish something. But thank you everyone so much to Logical Buildings and Linda for joining us this evening and sharing about grid rewards. If it's possible, is it possible to share the PowerPoint presentation, or at least some of the additional assets that you talked about? Because it sounds as if some of our fellow committee members might be interested in having that.
Absolutely. Who would you want us to send it? I mean, I sent Chanel some language and some assets, some photographs this Tuesday. But I don't know, Zora, do you have a PowerPoint that can be sent?
Yeah, I can certainly send some materials and, the brochure and some of that educational material to understand, what the program is. So I'm happy to send that over.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Great. Well, thank you again. You're welcome to stay on or log off as you please.
You're gonna jump back to spearing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think Linda, you have another meeting to jump on. Wonderful. Great. So good evening, everyone. Thanks again for joining. So moving on to.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you
Not
for
a
hosting
problem.
us.
Lovely meeting you all. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you. Great. So moving on to the next point on our agenda. I had it, but I lost the agenda. I believe it's the Now POW presentation. I think that's what it is on the, let me just pull it up. On the agenda, one moment. Yes, okay, so it's the Now POW presentation. Let me just turn my camera back on. Thanks for your patience, everyone. So I added this to the agenda and I did leave it as a TBC. If you recall, last meeting, we, the resolution passed, the one where we were asking for the Manhattan Borough President's Office to create the resource platform. And if you recall, one of the action points that I took away from our committee meeting earlier last month was to reach out to Now POW and have a preliminary conversation with them. Although they're not here this evening to give us a short demonstration, I can update you on some of the conversations I did have with them, as well as with the Manhattan Borough President's Office in regards to moving forward the resource platform. So I can kind of provide an update and we can have a short conversation around that and then move on within the agenda. Is that all right? See Bruce nodding. Wonderful. So yes, I reached out to Now POW and I had one call with one of their kind of representatives, and my kind of immediate reaction after the call was like, wow, this is an amazing platform. So what they do is, and I'm just going to pull up my notes from that chat here. One second, I have to say goodnight.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night. Good night. Sweet dreams.
Right?
Sleep tight.
Exactly. Thanks everyone for patience. Yes, so I did have a chat with Now Pow, and I'm just pulling up my notes. Here we go. Okay, so they are currently in 45 states. They were actually put together or kind of founded in 2013 by two veterans. And what I thought was really neat is that, you know, these two veterans came back to the US after being abroad and really felt a need to find kind of a one place resource for a lot of these things that we were talking about, whether it's housing, human services, food pantry, so on and so forth. But they looked at it from the perspective of the healthcare system. So the way it works in kind of a lot of these other places is that if someone enters, you know, goes to an emergency room, for instance, and they express the need, you know, they're treated, but they share that they do not have health insurance, for instance, they're immediately connected into different health insurance providers and kind of see what they qualify for, but also checking other services that that individual or that household may need. But as it relates to what we're trying to do, it's a web-based platform. And the way it works is you create a profile for the individual, and it kind of captures consent to access these services. And so what it does is it then kind of creates a referral system with different organizations within that neighborhood or within that city. And each individual almost has like a case manager that's managed by this company, Now Pow. All to say is that it sounded quite interesting. I liked it. But what I will say is I then kind of shared a little bit of this conversation with the Manhattan Borough President's office, which I spoke to afterwards. And they themselves are actually seem to be quite on board with the resolution. I think at the moment, though, my understanding from my conversation with Porfirio is that they're looking at something specifically Manhattan based. So if you recall, the resolution is calling for something citywide, but they have been thinking about something particular to Manhattan, and there's a lot of interest in what that could look like. So just to, again, kind of let you know, those conversations are there, and they're certainly looking forward to our leadership here on CB12 and help spearheading that forward. So in terms of next steps, I'll be having a conversation with the Manhattan Borough President's office, I think at the end of the month, with Trisha as well, and one of the deputy borough presidents, kind of, you know, share the kind of the resolution and say how we can move forward on that. One thing just to note that did come out of that conversation, which I think we as well had agreed in talking about the CB12 resource document, you know, I'd shared, I was like, you know, we obviously need something right now as well, and something Manhattan-wide could take quite some time. And I obviously mentioned, you know, our limited capacity, so on and so forth. So they're very much of the view, if we can get either the community ambassadors, which is one of the programs that the community board is trying to spearhead, or one of the summer youth employment, you know, participants, for instance, to take forward that action of updating the current resource document. So that was quite a bit of a download, but just wanted to share that all with you so that you kind of know where that's at. And, you know, if anyone wants to support me in that initiative and help moving that forward, it is certainly welcome. But yeah, any feedback or questions, happy to answer. Bruce.
Yeah, what's the community ambassador program all about? Is that something that exists, or is it a new idea by Borough President Levine?
So it's a idea specific to CB12, to my knowledge. It's just specific to CB12. My understanding, it's based off of some community funds that we had received from some discretionary funding from the previous city council members. And the only thing is that it does run out at the end of the fiscal year, which I believe ends in June, is what I understand. So I'm not sure if that's even still happening. But the idea was to kind of, you know, bring on individuals from the community to really kind of go out into all of CB12, talk to residents, talk to neighbors, talk to businesses, and tell them about, you know, what the community board is, what we do, who we are, how to access us, and really spread the word by mouth. This is something we've been trying to do. Again, I'm not sure how far it's going to go or if it will
Yeah.
go, but that's something that has been discussed.
June is just around the corner.
Exactly. my point exactly.
Well, we can talk about it offline.
For sure. I just wanted to see if there's any other questions or thoughts on what I just shared, or if anyone wants to get involved or help out with kind of pushing that forward with MVPO's office. Happy to have support.
Yeah, I'm game.
Your game? Okay, wonderful. I'll loop you in. Thanks,
you.
Bruce. Very much so. And again, thank you to Aisha for helping out with the draft. It was really a big help. Over to you, Aisha. I see that you joined us. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm sorry for arriving late. My schedule's been very hectic. This is actually the first knowledge that I have that the reso passed. I'm excited to hear that. And I'm interested to see how it moves forward, what my availability will be. I'm not exactly sure yet because I'm moving into a second phase of my program. And so once I get my schedule and figure out how that's going to look, then I'll know more. And but it sounds great. Definitely interested. Would these meetings be taking place in the standard borough president meetings, like the borough, what is it called, the borough president's cabinet meeting, or would these be separate meetings? How is that going to work?
Sure. So right now, I mean, it was just a phone call that I had with Porfirio, and I think that's what it will probably be moving forward for the time being. And so the next phase, as I mentioned, would then be, because I kind of gave Porfirio kind of, background as to what the committee was thinking and, shared the resolution passed. He was actually in the meeting last month, so he is kind of aware of it. And then, so the next step is to share it or kind of have a similar conversation, more in-depth conversation with Trisha, as well as with one of the deputy borough presidents to kind of discuss, okay, well, how then can we take this forward? Which again, I think will probably take the form of a phone call of some sort. From there, I'm not sure what it will look like, but I think that's kind of what we're trying to sort out. But happy to have you on board if you're able to kind of join in any of those conversations.
Definitely. Thank you.
Great. Thank you both. Hi, Etta. Hope you're well. Great. Anything else on this point? No, I don't see any hands, so I think we're all set there. Great. So the next point on the agenda is the resource fair for the summer. I will be very honest in that it's been a little difficult to do the necessary follow-up that it needs. And so right now is kind of really a call for support as well. If there are any kind of committee members that are able to support in helping put this together. At the moment, I did create a spreadsheet. It's kind of, a Google spreadsheet. I haven't shared it yet because I still need to finish it, but it just has, for instance, kind of tabs of, the different committees, kind of outlining who would be responsible for what. So, I remember one of the rightful concerns that many of you mentioned was, it's obviously a big task to coordinate a fair of such size. And so I've tried to kind of create somewhat of a task manager and so on, but recognizing that summer will be here before we know it, there is a little bit of pressure to certainly put more time into it. But again, would certainly appreciate support from the committee. And if anyone wants to work with me on it, please let me know. Don't all jump at once. Aisha.
Have we thought of what location to use? I know you talked about possibly behind or near Highbridge Pool previously. I also was thinking previously the board has had picnics or kind of like a picnic. I don't remember the exact name of the location. It's in the north end of the district on the east side. Near the water. And there's actually two beautiful spaces up in that area. And, I feel like we would benefit from doing something on the east side of the district. A lot of people, because of where the location of the community board is located, sometimes would like for us to be further north as well. So I'll try to get the name of those park locations and submit them to you. But I feel like it would be a nice space to be able to have tables on both sides and still maybe have, I don't know, refreshments and things like that in a nice kind of like scenic area.
For sure. Looks like Richard probably recalls.
Yeah, I know just that much about my phone to look at the map when that comes up. The listed name is Sherman Creek Park.
Yeah.
I think there's another name for it. Another way of thinking of it is the area right by PS5.
Okay. And I think
This is
there's
a nice area.
there's like 3 different spots there that are not right next to each other, but closely located that are, decent spots.
Okay.
But I
Yeah.
don't know the differences between the names or.
And
Please, go ahead.
I think of all of us on this call, I think Marshall is probably the person who knows that area the best, and if there's any input. Excuse me for putting you on the spot, but I'm just looking at the map, man.
You're muted.
Muted.
Okay, yeah, as I'm thinking, there may be 3 spots off the river. There's one, I guess, behind the school. And then I believe there are 2 other kind of vest pocket parks that are on the river. I think one is maybe I guess from 10th Avenue, it would be 202 Street, because I guess on the other side on Nagel Avenue, it's known as Academy Street. And I'm not quite sure what other street it would be, but it would be maybe like 2 blocks down or something like that. All of that is, I guess, sort of sort of east of 9th Avenue. Because I guess on 9th Avenue, you have a series of, I guess there are some of the grocery stores on 9th Avenue. But yeah, I guess, yeah, well, and I believe there are like picnic kind of set up there. I can't say I'm that fluid on those the resources at each of those parks, but yeah, that's my recollection of what's going on over there.
Thank you. Thank you to you and Richard. And just to answer Aisha's original question. So yes, still kind of sorting out a location, but again, my capacity has been quite limited the last month. And so it's been difficult for sure to follow up. So again, any call for volunteers or supporters to help out in putting this together, it's definitely going to require more than just one person. Daryl, over to you.
Yeah, just along the lines of locations. I don't know if there's any spots that maybe New York Presbyterian, Columbia, or Yeshiva might have. I feel like there might be some pockets there of space if they want to donate that, or also Haven. There's a Haven Plaza. I mean, it's it's already closed off.
Yeah, for sure. Great, thank you. So I'll go back to Ebenezer on these and see if we can, hopefully within the next kind of 2 weeks, just pinpoint a location, get the date going, because I think that's crucial in order for us to really kind of pick this up. Great. And then I know there was also a suggestion, I think it was you, Etta, to kind of go and to the different committee meetings and see if there are, kind of give the small pitch and say, hey, this is what we're doing, really, trying to get everyone on board. Again, another action point for me/us. And so, yeah, any support on that would certainly be appreciated. I did flag this for the committee chairs, but obviously it would be quite difficult for me to attend every single one. But if you can think about kind of the committee meetings between now and the end of the month, if they're kind of if you are in any of those other committees, if you could, kind of, I guess maybe in the new business section, just ask, give a 5-minute pitch on what it is we're trying to do and help recruit volunteers. That would be incredibly helpful, and kind of share those names with me so we can at least create somewhat of a, I guess, a coordination committee of some sort to get this up off the ground. That would be really helpful. So I sit on the licensing committee, and so I will kind of do my pitch there. I know several others, if you sit on other committees, if you could do the same, that'd be greatly appreciated. Great. Anything else or any questions on the fair before we move on? No? Okay. Great. Thank you all for your input as usual. Really appreciate it. Great. So moving on to old business. I'm just wanting to see if there's any old business.
Do you want to update on what Michelle mentioned?
Yes, that I need to pull up her email. Do you recall exactly? She did send a notice that she wouldn't be able to make it this evening, but let me thank you for that. I completely forgot about that. Do you recall exactly, Daryl, if you want?
I do not. I mean,
okay, let me.
I could be paraphrasing, and I don't know who else was on the email, but
So
that basic.
I remember a little bit. She said that she went to a meeting of the residents in the area where the work is being done by the company that wanted to Saturday work. And the company has decided to come back to us when they've finished everything on the exterior work and then request a variance for interior work on Saturday. So that's kind of the gist that I got of it. But she really did a good job of going to the residents meeting and, finding out what's going on. So that was very insightful to me.
Thanks, Bruce. And I just pulled up the email now. And thanks for flagging, Daryl. I would have forgotten to raise. But yes, exactly that. So they currently do not have they're not doing any Saturday construction. And we can easily check that information online. So that includes obviously not having kind of the extended hours. They're not doing any construction at all on Saturdays. But exactly that. It looks like they're going to continue to work without the Saturday permits until the fall. But then in the fall, that's when they're going to focus on kind of the more interior work, which I think was a point that the committee made. Well, if the interior work is a little bit quieter, a little bit less disruptive to neighbors, and that they're committed to sit down with the neighbors at that time to kind of discuss a strategy. So we'll follow up with that, and Michelle's kind of been the point person on that, kind of in the early fall, and I guess that's something we should expect to see coming up soon in September, October. Thanks. I see that there's a something in the Q&A. Okay, Phil noted. Let me just provide an update, and then I'll turn it over to you so that you can ask your question. Great. So the other thing I wanted to raise with you all is Senator Clear. If you recall, I've been trying to get in contact with Senator Clear's office for some time. I finally managed to have a call with someone in her office today. Obviously, she's been incredibly busy, with the budget and kind of tied up with that. I understand also this weekend's kind of caucus weekend, so there's a lot of work around that. But the senator has expressed definitely interest in coming to a future meeting. Obviously, it all just depends on availability and so on. Something to note, I will share they're running a bus. I think it's from the Harlem location, the Harlem office location to Albany on Saturday. So I'll send that flyer around in case anyone's available, and they're doing a lot of kind of lobbying and so on a number of different issues, including human trafficking. I'm unfortunately unable to make it on such short notice, but it's there, but I'll share that again shortly after. And then the other thing that Senator Clear's office is working on, amongst other things, is something regarding a potential cannabis workshop. I'm not sure when that's going to happen, but it's focused on it's not just the licensing bit, which I know the Business and Development Committee has focused on quite a bit, but also just kind of what are your rights around that, and it's kind of some information on that. So again, once they share the flyer, I'll share that and ask the office to share more widely. I think that's all I have under old business. And I'll turn it over to Phil. Okay, Aisha, do you have a point under old business or a question on what I just shared?
No, I was anticipating new business.
Okay, sounds good. I have your hand for new business, not a problem. Okay. Chanel, would you mind giving Phil speaking privileges or promoting Phil for his point or question? And as usual, Phil, you'll have 2 minutes and then we can respond. I'm not sure if maybe Chanel stepped away from the computer. Chanel, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, no worries. Would you mind promoting Phil just so he has a point for old business? Thank you. Okay, Phil, over to you. You have 2 minutes, please.
Okay, can you folks hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
All right, great. Yeah, actually I have a prepared statement and questions. Should take no more than 30 seconds or so. To recap quickly for those on YouTube, other social media, or on this call who are not aware, Community Board 12, 11 months ago in May of 2021 passed a resolution to investigate and make public all licenses for the utilization of the Fort Washington Armory. There were 4 be it resolves that were listed in that resolution, of which one was Community Board 12 calling upon the New York City Council to hold a public meeting concerning the Fort Washington Armory. In recent prior Community Board 12 Housing and Human Resources meetings, it was mentioned that the CB12 chair asked for this committee to assist in getting this public meeting to occur. Previous discussion called to shoot for having this public meeting occur in the spring. Spring is now here. What's the status of the public hearing? What's the delay? What's the status of the other be it resolves? Can the chair of this committee and its members directly ask the Community Board 12 chair, Mr. Bueno, and the executive committee at the next general meeting, what's the delay in making the public hearing happen, and the delay in moving forward with the other be it resolves? And lastly, has Community Board 12 been in touch with the Department of Homeless Services? I was going to put that into the question area. It kind of cut that off. I'm going to copy and paste it in there. I know that was a lot.
Yeah, if you could,
I'll
because it's
just
good to have that
put
for
the,
our minutes.
yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Phil, for your points. So yes, you are right. We wanted to have something in the spring. Unfortunately, as I've mentioned in the past, a lot of the delays are around the new elected officials being in office and still kind of getting up to speed on some of these items. I have raised this with the CB12 chair. And kind of that's also the response I've been given. And so I have a chat later this week with the chair on kind of other things, but I will continue to raise. I have reached out to DHS. I did do that and I have not received the response. I reached out about 2 weeks ago asking for just a chat to see where things are at and, kind of have a conversation about how we can move this forward. And I have not received the response, but I can continue to follow up as what I have done. In regards to the other be it resolves, and I always kind of blank on some of these right now at the moment. I kind of the bits and pieces that I just shared with you are in regards to the public forum, but in regards to the other be it resolves at the moment, there is no update, unfortunately.
Appreciate the update. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Okay.
So I just wanted to, if I could quickly put on record.
Is it on this point, Aisha?
It is on this point.
Okay. Go ahead.
So the public hearing that Community Board 12 is supposed to hold is one thing for the benefit of the community to be involved in that discussion. And then calling on the city council to address it is a separate issue, obviously about the same issue, but is a separate action. And then for a task force to be convened, for people to be appointed, both from multiple committees from our board that there's relevance where this matter is concerned specifically, and other community members is another separate action. There may be other actions that I'm forgetting in this moment, but I just wanted to kind of like parse that out so that there's understanding.
For sure. Thank you. What I will say is in response to your point, and also maybe tying it a little bit into Phil's point, is that I have reached out to some of the contacts in the new representatives' offices in regards to our city council representatives. I have not had those calls yet. They're scheduled for next week. And so within those conversations, obviously, this is a point that I can bring up and kind of see where we can move this forward. Daryl?
Yeah, I just had a question, and forgive me, I can't remember. And I guess it's for Phil or Aisha or anyone who remembers. Are there other like-minded organizations, that feel the same way as GDS? I know GDS has done, obviously a tremendous amount of work and advocacy around this. So I was just wondering if there are other organizations involved with this effort.
I'll turn it over to Aisha and Phil because I don't know the response to that.
There have been various community members, some who are a part of different organizations. The exact names of them, I don't have at the top of my mind. Actually, even former board members that are members of certain organizations in the community that were knowledgeable about the history of it. And even though they resigned from the board, continued on in this effort. Yes. And I mean, I guess it's yes, that there are other community or organization members that are kind of focused on it.
Sorry, just a quick follow-up on Daryl's point, and then I'll turn it over to Phil, because it looks like, Phil, you might also have to add to what Aisha said. I wonder if it would be helpful to also kind of include representatives of those organizations as well, kind of in the advocacy, or kind of invite them to some of these meetings. So that way we can also hear from their perspective as well. I'm sure, they're obviously advocating for many of the same things that you are. Phil.
Well, I think that was the intention of the public hearing, so that at that forum, those people can come forward and be a part of that discussion.
Correct. That's a part of it. But I think there's also a bit about those who may have been involved in kind of raising this in the beginning as well. But yeah, good point. Phil?
Oh, no, I just want to say, yes, there are. I'd be happy to get back to you via email, Daryl and Marielle, with names and so forth. At the moment, stuff evades me. There's so much information in my head regarding this, and I don't want to misname organizations or individuals. I'd rather go back, make sure I have it right, and then be happy to send that to you.
For sure.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Richard, is it on this point as well? Oh, you're muted.
Lowering my hand and passing.
Okay, great. Oops, I muted myself. Great. Well, thank you, Phil, for joining this evening and sharing your points and your concerns. Obviously, we'll continue to push forward where we can. Great. So moving on to new business, unless there's no other old business. Just gonna check. I don't see. Okay. New business. I have 1 or 2 points, but I'll turn it over to you, Aisha.
So I just wanted to bring to the committee's attention that, and I know Barnard doesn't fall specifically in our district, but of course Barnard is affiliated with Columbia University, which is in our district. they had a symposium in November that I attended for 2 days, called Undesign the Red Line, and actually researching it just last week so that I could bring it to the committee. I learned seemingly many other universities are doing the same effort under that same banner of Undesign the Red Line. And I'm pretty sure most of us know what redlining is. But in that symposium, they took it beyond what we generally reference redlining as, where it comes to housing, and it expanded it to other types of government services and things that should be serving the public, but are restricted by actions that make it discriminatory, the way that those things are distributed or the way that people have access, including transportation, public spaces, food deserts, all those kinds of things. It was held by students as well as faculty. And just briefly, the reason why I bring it up is because on April 1st, they opened up an exhibit at Barnard all about, I guess, their findings and the efforts and, things to come in the future. It happens on Fridays at Barnard. And they have tours that you can participate in for that. And it's pretty much, it says to learn about the connection between race, real estate, and wealth inequality in the US. And I feel that that's definitely something that falls under our banner. But also at that event is where I connected with a professor there, specifically because the group that she worked with that presented talked about redlining where public spaces are concerned. And I think that that is very much relevant where the Armory issue is concerned. And so I reached out to her and she said she'd be willing to have a conversation, and it's my goal to try to see if I can loop them in and maybe even the students there so that they can participate in this effort and possibly the public hearing based on the research and the study that they've already done and keeping that in context and perspective. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Thanks, Aisha. Are you able to share the, did I understand that these sessions are happening every Friday? So
Every Friday from 12 to 1:15, they have tours you can register for. I'll send out a link.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I'd be interested in participating if I can. Thank you. Great. I realized I had one thing under old business that I forgot to raise. I wanted to provide an update. If I hope you don't mind if I do. It's very quick. Is that all right? Hope you indulge me for a second.
The chair's prerogative. Yes, please.
So just a follow up to Aisha, we had shared, last month, the kind of, the number of distressed buildings in CB12 and kind of, them falling under the, the alternate enforcement program. I believe that's what the acronym is. And so I did share this with Ebenezer to raise at the district service cabinet meeting. Unfortunately, there was not an HPD representative there. I understand they kind of attend sometimes, not all the time. And so there's just that. But again, just wanted to know that I did raise it, and we'll continue to kind of ask about it and see if maybe I can even reach out to someone from HPD to get, kind of an answer as to where this is at and so on and so forth. So just wanted to let you know that's on my radar still. And then I have,
and we possibly have HPD in May.
Sorry.
No, I was just saying, is it possible we can have HPD come in May?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm able to get in touch with someone and they actually respond, for sure. The issue is getting.
I know that experience all too well. Good luck with that.
Yeah, it's been a struggle, but yes, no, that I will follow up and see if we can do that, because I think that's quite important. Great, and then my one point under new business, then we can make it quick. I was very disturbed by the news of kind of the disruption of the encampments throughout the city. Yesterday, obviously, I know that the mayor is doing quite a bit to address homelessness in the city, and I'm in nowhere near kind of an expert on the issue, but I know there's obviously a lot of concerns in the way in which things are being done as it relates to our unhoused neighbors, and so I just wanted to create a space to see if anyone had any thoughts. I'm not sure if, and I think I'd raised this earlier this year if was any kind of forum or platform or space for communities and kind of, everyday New Yorkers to give feedback or input into some of these policies. I don't know. I haven't really looked into it, but I can. But again, I just wanted to create a space to see if anyone has feedback or thoughts on how that's being addressed.
I definitely do. I've been following it, but also one of my side gigs while I'm in my program has been doing political surveys for poll organizations like the Quinnipiac poll throughout the country. And what I find interesting is before, like now it's happening in New York and it was happening in California, there were multiple surveys that I did where they were inquiring to people in those areas how they felt about what if we kind of disrupted these encampments. Would you be upset if it was criminalized, if we provided X amount of shelter and then told the people in the street that they would be incarcerated if they didn't leave the area? How do you feel about that? So they're basically asking the community's permission to criminalize homelessness instead of, making sure that the solutions exist to prevent it, which I find really disturbing. And so I'm interested to know what moved the mayor to take these kind of actions instead of a lot of the remedies that have been recommended by government and organizations for years to try to remedy some of these issues. And I also wonder what has been done to this point about some of those things. Like, for instance, the amount of money that have been spent historically on shelter spaces, when some of that money would actually afford people apartments instead of the amount of money that they pay for beds that are transitional in nature and not permanent, right? So where's the needle where that's concerned is a question that I have. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on that.
Thanks, Aisha. Etta?
I have a lot of thoughts about the mayor's policy, removing encampments, but something just more practical, to the point instead of getting into too many philosophical discussions about it. I was particularly disturbed that they came in and basically like a bulldoze, they basically bulldoze their homes. They might be in the streets, they might be encampments. They decided your belongings are worthless, they're trash, we're throwing them out. And for me, just thinking, what someone's trash is another person's treasure, right? Like your belongings, like when you're out in the street and you're carrying like 3 or 4 bags, those are your possessions. That's what makes you feel like this is mine. So for someone just to say like, oh, I'm going to throw it out and you have to now go into a shelter with just basically what you're wearing, I thought was extremely disturbing and heartless. And a better way to handle this, here comes a practical proposal, is potentially having some sort of storage, something be like, okay, what is important to you? What can we do and safeguard? Because that really goes back to treating people like they're human beings and that their possessions, even if I don't think they're valuable, are valuable to that person. Because if our goal is to encourage them to leave the streets and to trust us, I'm not really sure how coming in and destroying all their belongings is coming from a place of let's build a relationship of trust and we're here to help you, as opposed to just saying like, you're not worth anything. You're going to take whatever you can get, whatever we give you, and be grateful for it. So those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Etta. I was, kind of watching the news yesterday and kind of just the images, what was captured. I was just like, exactly, you worded it perfectly. For individuals who have been through already so much, what is little to us can mean so much to one person, and just kind of see it kind of thrown in the sanitation trucks was just like, wow, that was really disheartening. Aisha?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that in reading some of the articles, that is the part about it that struck me the hardest. Thank you, Etta, for bringing that up. How people's personal belongings were destroyed. I know that when people are facing eviction or maybe in transition and dealing with homelessness at a moment, but maybe about to move into an apartment, HRA does provide funding for storages, right? But I'm not absolutely sure how that those provisions may be made to somebody who is homeless and living on the street and is undomiciled. I'm not sure how that works, but maybe we can find that out. And if they are not affording people in that predicament those benefits, maybe we can pass a resolution so that they would, which I would imagine would help those people at least have a place, because when you have a storage, that's a place you have a key to, you can go to, you can visit your stuff. You can't live there, but at least your stuff has a home. And maybe that would help people in that predicament get off their feet when they're maybe not having to, keep track of all their personal belongings while on the street. I think that would probably be a tremendous help.
Thanks, Aisha. Let's certainly kind of park that point about possibly having a resolution on this for next month. I think that's certainly something we can consider. Any other thoughts on this? Just kind of noting the hour, or any other any other new business. If anyone has any other points. Okay, I don't see any. Aisha, I'm assuming that's the old hand, all right?
It was.
Okay, not a problem. Great. Well, thank you all so much, as usual. I'm going to write the minutes for this month, but again, would certainly appreciate a volunteer for May. So you have a month to get ready. Thank you, everyone. So I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 8:45 p.m. If I can get a second, please.
I'll second that.
Second.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Good night, everyone.
Goodbye.
Good night.